Every day when we awaken and move upon our way, we go into a universe of relationships. A universe of relationship with self and others and the world. In Western thought, we think that way. Self, others, and the world. In some languages in the world, instead of reading it that way, self, others, and the world, you read from right to left, and it would read world, others, and ourself. If I would begin with self, then I'll begin with myself. Who am I? What do I need in the world? Where am I? And that's one door. That's one step upon the path. But in medicine singing, we start with the world, others, and ourself, and there's a reason for that. As I'm sitting here in this immense universe, I'm sitting in the midst of a number of different nations. Mineral nations, plant nations, and this good friend, ancient and solid stones. Many, many different nations, including two-legged and four-legged creatures, great and small. If I start with self, then I would talk about me. If I would talk about other, I would talk about thee, as the Quakers say. If I would talk about the world and start from that point, I would talk about we. All of us gathered here. The one whom I'm leaning against, who has so many more memories than I do. The two-legged creatures and the four-legged creatures walking the trails here in this magnificent forest. But in medicine singing, we start with the universe, world, and others, and ourself. Because we start from the place of acknowledging there is already relationship. I don't have to think about it. It is already occurring all around me. Everything is in relationship, every moment, at every time. So in this vast community of cars and motorcycles, and children on trails, and dogs and puppies and deers, and leaves that have dropped their robe of many colors and fallen to the ground to nourish Mother Earth, I come with the consciousness then. I am in the presence of others. So depending on which path we take, it redirects our consciousness. If we start with the world and the universe, then we start humbled. If we talk about self first, I talk about me and everything else being in relationship to me. But if I come with the world universe, then already around me are millions of relationships in action, feet upon the trail. So we choose a number of paths, starting with self, then others, and then the world universe. Or we can start with the world universe, and then we, and then me. And sometimes we can start with we, and me, and thee, and the universe. We have choices of which we start, and where we start from indicates our consciousness and determines the path we take as we are living a life of meaning and purpose. Because all three will help us. All three will come to our aid in relationship and relating well to self, others, and the world. One of the things I love about medicine singing, it doesn't say that there's just one way or two, but there are three and more. And in this world of relating to others, including their motorcycles and shoes and walks and talks, medicine singing brings us into the truth that there are a number of different ways we can step onto the path of consciousness. In order to open greater to the universe and all of its magnificent and immense resources, it requires us to be creative. If we only start from one direction, we limit our creativity. When we know that we have a number of choices, our options expand. So I suggest to people when they're having trouble getting out of the one way they've been taught in their culture, tribe, or community, or the one way they've been taught about their family of origin, or one way they have been taught by those that raised them, is that we do an act of creativity that says, take 3 minutes, point to things around you, including yourself, others, and all the things around, and point to them as quickly as you can and call them by a name that does not belong to them. That would occur like this: car, speed bump, race car, turtle, deer, elk, chief, and I've named everything by a name that does not belong to them. This helps us circumvent the logical, judgmental mind that keeps us trapped on just one way of stepping onto the path. So when we do that act of creativity, of calling everything what it isn't, we circumvent the mind, and the reason for this is very simple, because we have an objective. We want to drain the brain. We want to drain the brain of its judgmentalism, of its saying there's only the way we learn, there's only this way, dogma, demand, and come to realize we have so many choices, and we open our heart to the universe, and then we are not only myself and we, but all of us in this community. When I step onto the path from the orientation of the world universe, it is so immense, I am humbled. As we're humbled, we become wiser. As we become wiser, we have gifts to bring into relationship with one another, self and other. So as I sit here talking about the world universe and others, everything changes every moment. Four-legged horses come along, friends come along, voices, relationships, signaling to one another in conversation and relationship. So it's true. We are all related. If we step onto the path from the immensity of the world universe and are humbled and therefore wiser, and understand that we're privileged to be in relationship to all the nations, Mitakuyasin, then all the nations are here. And I am in relationship to them and they with me. And that's the immensity. People, four-leggeds, horses, two-leggeds, crows, and red-tailed hawks, families walking. If I thought only of me, there wouldn't be a we, and I certainly wouldn't see the immensity of the universe. From community, or the world and the universe, into this, I realize that I am in relationship to all the nations, and they with me. And so we are all related. And as I come closer then to self, I approach it with the same sacredness as I approach the world, universe, or you. No less, no more. So I will hear the sounds of the worlds, I will hear the sounds of the nations. I will know that between that place of my breath, between the inhale and the exhale, I have a choice of how I greet this world universe, and how I greet you, and how I greet me. And the wonderful thing about medicine singing is it equips us for living life from a point of view of meaning and purpose, where we are engaged with all the nations. Medicine singing brings good medicine for the heart, and brings from that perspective that we engage the world universe from a perspective of humility that brings wisdom. And when I greet you and you greet me, all that is present. All the nations are here. We are all interrelated and equipped with the skills to ask for help when we need it, to be a helper to others or a hero to others, to engage in time for being alone and rejuvenating of oneself, of being in a relationship with others, of understanding the relationship of all the nations. We bring a medicine to this. It's medicine singing. It's good medicine for the heart. It's how we make ourselves well. How we make ourselves well from the start. So as I sit here in the immensity of the universe and I hear other voices approaching, I know that all the nations are here.
There's some people who are getting sick, and he's not.
And I greet all the nations.
Feels so good.
And I greet all the voices, two-leggeds and four-leggeds, and families and nations and races. And from that perspective, this is a sacred place where all the nations gather. And I am privileged.